I'm Boyd Swinburn. I'm Professor of Population Nutrition and Global Health at the University of Auckland, and I also co-chair the Lancet Commission on Obesity, which had a recent report on the global syndemic of obesity, undernutrition and climate change. So the global syndemic is a new idea, and it's joining up obesity, undernutrition and climate change, these three big pandemics that we believe interact with each other and that have common underlying drivers. And when we first developed this idea and saw that these things were connected, we had a series of workshops around the world where we asked people, and this is experts in the field, how do you think obesity, undernutrition and climate change are joined up? And a lot of people understood that climate change will increase the risk of undernutrition through food insecurity. Quite a few people knew that undernutrition as an infant predisposes to obesity as adults, but not that many people got the idea that these things were caused by the same things, that underlying these things, driving all three, were in particular four big systems: the food system, transport systems, land use and urban design. And those four big systems are the kind of driving force for each of these pandemics. Underlying each of those four systems, of course, is the political economy. Who's making the rules, who's allocating where the funds are going, where the economic incentives and disincentives are going, and those underlying forces dictate what our food systems look like, for example, and that dictates what our food environments look like, and therefore our diet. And we're seeing around the world now that many countries are dealing with this double burden of obesity and undernutrition. And they have tended to operate in silos, so if we're actually going to get any action, we need to join them together and join forces. And one way to do that is to focus down at the food system, saying, what is it about these food systems in our country that are causing both high undernutrition and high obesity? Let's look at the food system. So that was the perspective that we took, and I have to say, since it was launched, it's been a very it's been an idea that is people have grabbed a hold of. The penny drops for a lot of people. They say, yeah, now I get it. And once you get it, you can't unget it. Once you see the links, they're there forever. And I think that's a good thing, because what that does is it forces us to think for our solutions, not just at the individual policy bits that are going to deal with each of them, and they're still important, but how do we get fundamentally change, for example, in the food systems? How do we change the dynamics? How do we change the policies, the rules under which companies operate, where the subsidies go, where the taxes are, where the programs go, that will fundamentally change food systems so that they create sustainable, healthy, equitable and prosperous food systems. Those are the four outcomes that we want. And when we look at food systems at the moment, what they're delivering is obesity, undernutrition and climate change. So that's a huge job, and of course we had a lot of suggestions and recommendations for what various groups should do. There are a whole lot, as you might expect, for national governments, because they hold a lot of the power to regulate, legislate and tax. But the first two recommendations we had were, first of all, to think about these problems, each of these problems, as joined up. Think about them together as a syndemic. The second thing was, join up these silos. People are working here, people are working here. Link arms, see that you're dealing with the same problem. And that will also give power to the voice that's trying to get change. So those were the first two recommendations for everyone. Set of recommendations about what government needs to do, set of recommendations about what civil society needs to do, and to be honest, I think this is the sleeping giant. This is the force that, if it's mobilized, will actually bring about food systems transformation. If they can mobilize around a common cause, link arms across climate change, undernutrition and obesity, then I think we'll have a force to contend with, and that will force some of these other areas that we talked about. In terms of industry, we had a lot of debate as to whether we should have recommendations for industry. And actually, in the end, we decided that we wouldn't. We decided that industry did need to fundamentally change, but it's not going to change by itself. It's going to operate under its existing requirements, legal requirements, and so on. And what needs to change is the governments need to enact policies and regulations and the incentives so that industry gets refocused to produce the types of food and the outcomes that we want.